Welcome to the Major Evasion Report, where we explore the stories and strategies of individuals who have achieved success in their fields. Each week, we bring you inspiring and actionable insights from experts and leaders who have overcome obstacles and made a meaningful impact. Whether you're a student, entrepreneur, or professional, this is the podcast for anyone looking to achieve their goals and make a difference in the world. So join us as we discover the secrets to success and major evasion with the most motivated and successful people in the industry. Welcome to the Major Evasion Report. Hello everyone, my name is Major Williams, the host of the Major Evasion podcast show. Today we have a very special show. Today, you know what this podcast is about. It's about all things motivational, inspirational, and aspirational. We talk about entrepreneurship, talk a little bit about politics, but we also talk about life and also family. So it's kind of well-rounded. So thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I'm really excited about my guest today. As you guys know, this is a new podcast. This is my second guest of 2023, my second guest overall, for the actual podcast. It's a person that I would like to say a really good friend of mine. And whether he knows it or not, he's a distant mentor because he's not in California anymore, but he is a distant mentor that touches the lives of not only people like myself who can learn some things from him, but to many, many people across the entire country who follow him on social media. And what's most intriguing about him is his journey. Oftentimes people show you the shiny things up front, but this gentleman has been so vulnerable and open to sharing himself with the world and his online community. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend, Garrain Jones, to the Major Evasion Show. Welcome, my brother.
That was an awesome introduction. The whole time you were talking, I'm just like, man, last time I seen this dude in person, I was living in my car trying to figure out, and you were doing your thing at the club, and you had the best spots, and the top people came to the clubs that you were. I didn't even know what it is that you did. I just know that I got hooked up with you, and it was like a club promoter that had these other club promoters. I was like, man, I'm trying to get in. And so the whole time you were talking, I'm just like, man, how much life can change when different decisions are being made. So thank you for having me on.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it. And that kind of goes to just kind of like my introduction. And first of all, even before we go into some of the questions that I have for you, I want to tell you publicly and give you your roses. Congratulations on yourself and loving yourself, right? And growing yourself, but also congratulations on your partner in your life. You have a beautiful wife and you have a beautiful daughter as well too. So congratulations on building a fantastic family as well too. Family is everything to me. So to kind of see you in that space, man, it just really warms my heart to kind of like scroll. All the other stuff is great, but the family is the thing that really sticks out in my household, man. So congratulations to you on the family. So how has that been from the evolution of then versus now? How does that balance work with you now?
What it is first off, thank you for that. I will gladly take my roses. um, I grew up hearing this this saying. It was like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And so listening to whatever that physiology was from when I was a little kid, well, I'd say, oh, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I didn't even know that I was unconsciously limiting myself. And so as I start to be in a committed relationship, and this is my second daughter, but Blair's first daughter. I have a daughter named Kylia who's 21 and baby Soul is 1. But as that started flowering and I started learning how to expand my capacity so that I can hold for a big life while remaining peaceful, what I realized is that story was actually a lie. You actually can have your cake and you can eat it too, if you're willing to do the extra cardio. I was willing to do the work, the inside work, the outside work. I was willing to do whatever it took to have a big life, to have big dreams, big desires, big outcomes, and be peaceful at the same time.
Yeah.
So let my testimony be a living witness that you can have your cake and eat it too.
No, that's amazing, man. And I think a lot of people, from an analogy or metaphorically speaking, need to hear and also receive that, because I believe a lot of people have limiters and invisible barriers is what I used to call them, because of certain language that we use, because of how we were raised or how we were programmed or even conditioned from a very early age. I mean, so I agree with you 100% when it comes to you can have your cake and eat it too as well too. I look at the parallels to my upbringing, born and raised in the projects. I could have easily been a statistic, but I just, I felt like I could have my cake and eat it too. I just had to go through a lot of rubbish to kind of find that, because as you said, it does take that if you're willing to do the work. And the work is
Yeah.
inside and also outside, right? And that's very important to me. And let me
Yeah,
put this up.
absolutely.
So this is a question. So I came up with a few questions beyond us just having random conversations, but I really wanted to hit on a few key questions that I had from kind of following you in your actual journey thus far. And so one of them was the importance of controlling your dreams and choosing yourself. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Because that was a quote or a saying that I heard you say about the importance of that. Can you kind of elaborate on that for myself and the audience?
Yeah, whenever you are, whenever you're in the airplane, they always say, put your mask on first before you put it on someone else's. But why they say that? Because they don't want a bunch of people suffocating, trying to help other people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, put your mask on first.
Right.
And I think in this society, whenever someone focuses on themselves, society has a way of making you feel like you're being selfish or greedy, or you're only thinking about yourself. But then we wonder why there's so many people who don't feel seen, who don't feel like they matter, who don't feel like they heard, and then they look outside for the thing that only they can give to themselves. So during my journey of self discovery, while I'm continuously learning the mastery of the human experience, what I've learned is when I give to myself, when I love myself, when I'm mindfulness, when I find peace and solace inside of myself, it's like pouring water into a glass. And when you continue to pour that water over and over and over, it eventually will reach a tipping point. But if you keep pouring, it will then spill over into the next container.
Mm.
Well, imagine that cup is your life. And imagine that water is love. What most people do in the world, they pour in the cup and then they pour it out. They pour in and they pour out. And then they're wondering why, where's my results? I don't see it. Well, if if you're not experiencing overflow in your own life, your results is trying to literally absorb and concentrate power to build magnetism inside of you.
Mm.
Allow people to benefit from the overflow that you first give to yourself and not your exhaust. Our world is tired because most people deep down inside, I mean, if you go all the way down below religion, below the family indoctrination, like below politics, go down, way down below all of that, and let's go to the environment that you grew up around, that you were domesticated, that you came inside. Most people don't naturally and genuinely love themselves
Yeah.
because of all the stuff that we've seen, what we're taught in schools, all this other stuff. It's not coming from a place of love. Our world is run by fear.
Yes.
So if you can, yeah, so if you can be domesticated in fear, you can be controlled by fear. But if you learn how to love yourself, then all of a sudden you can look at fear as you're like, oh, I see what's going on. That's actually not a part of what's going on inside of me. And because you have so much love for yourself, you can stare fear in the face and say, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's absolutely powerful. And I agree with you 100%. And I think that kind of bring me to my next kind of conversation with you. So, in speaking of love, and now we transition to self-expression and dance, right?
Yeah.
See that
Yeah.
you enjoy the art of dancing and just moving your limbs. And I'm 46. I'm like, man, can I even do that particular move anymore? So how was that transition? I know you say you've danced in the past. I know you have acted, done commercials and TV and film and things of that nature, right? So I know you have that background. But as you are currently and how you use it, can you kind of express or share with us how you use dance? Because I see it as one of those things I would always tell my wife. I said, I got to be like in Spain or Ibiza somewhere, with my with my flip flops on, and that's when I really break loose because I've been so guarded because I got to be like the cool guy. Like we've all been in that space where we got to be the cool guy, and
Absolutely.
we don't want to really break out that shell. But to kind of see you do that and see other individuals around you, it feels like a really great synergy. So, can you talk a little bit about the evolution of that and why that was important for you to share with others?
Well, energy always wants to find a place to 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 like energy. The way energy works, it can't be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. So if you have something inside of you, it's looking for a home. Most people stuff it and they stuff it and they stuff it, and then they take it out on their kids, their dog, their wife, their husband, their job, sex, porn, so many different things because of stuff down energy.
Mm,
Dance is just it's an outlet for expression. It doesn't have to be dance for you.
yeah,
It can be swimming, it could be writing, it could be painting. All it is, when I'm doing that, I'm not saying, "Hey, I'm going to go dance." It's energy that wants a sense of freedom. It
mm,
just wants a sense of freedom. So when you're seeing me in that, that is, I am connected to the moon, the stars, the planets. I am one with. And anybody that's connected to their divine nature is connected to nature. Anything that's connected to nature benefits from its resources.
right,
Time stops everything. I get downloads, but when I feel it's kind of like when you feel like throwing up, you find a outlet, a toilet to. So when I feel something coming up, I just do it unapologetically. And so that's just me simply um, confirming that the love that I have for myself deserves to be free.
right. No, I agree with you 100%, man. That's pretty positive, and that's why I said you're like your page, the art of conversation and being able to articulate a message simplistically so people can understand what you're saying gives people such an opportunity to gravitate to what the true meaning or the purpose of the value that you're adding through your page, through your conversations, through your actual skill set. At what point, knowing that you've developed this gift, and I'm sure there was a moment where you were expressing yourself or doing self development, how did it come full circle for you to kind of so called package your gift and your skill set? And how was that process at the beginning?
Okay, so I was always anytime I've ever been unapologetic with my self-expression and I was bringing joy, I felt joy, and my joy was just overflowing to other people, and other people just felt lifted and happy and positive. Every time I'm around you, I leave feeling better about myself when I'm in that state. But that's come to me in different pockets of
Yeah.
my life. I just wasn't, because you can't see the picture while you're in the frame, so I just wasn't aware of what that was. It
Mm,
wasn't until I would say June, July, August, September, November. I think May. It was May of 2022. I was in before I went into a deep meditation, I was saying, I just feel like, man, I was like, I got the multi seven figures, and I retired my mom when I was in 2015, and I got a baby, and my daughter's in college, and it was a beautiful family, and I was like, and still, something's missing. I
Yeah.
was like, there's something. And I just start asking different questions. Most people are like, what's wrong with me? When is it ever going to happen? Why is it? And those are the wrong questions to ask.
Wow.
And so I was just like, what am I here for? Like, really? Like, use me to communicate a message, a message to humanity. And I really wanted to know, like, why am I here? And all of a sudden, a voice just came in and it was like, Garrain, I want you to look back at all the things that you used to do, that every time that nobody taught you how to do it, and every time you did it, something positive always happened. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm like, huh, okay, I used to model, I used to do runway. After that, I used to, teach guys and girls how to walk the runway. And the result of that, they were more confident, they were more self-expressive, and they were taking more risks. Then I would do these 6-hour workshops over at LA Models as an independent contractor, working with the new faces, ages 13 through 18, with them being comfortable on camera. Nobody ever taught me how to do it. I just knew whatever. It was like I came to this world with something already installed inside of me, like a USB, and God was like, you have this gift right here. But I just wasn't aware of exactly what that was. I just knew how to do it.
Right.
And yeah, and so after 6 hours, these people's parents are like, what did you do with my daughter? She's never been able to talk like this. Like, wow, she's so confident and all this, confident, self-expressed, and and um and taking more risks. I grew up with a speech impediment, taught myself how to articulate, taught myself how to speak, and then became one of the top speakers in all of 2021, 2022, have spoken in over 67, 68 countries now, on stage with 60,000, 70,000 people. And when I taught Speakers Boot Camp, the result, more confident, more self-expressive, and they took more risks. So I'm looking at these things while I'm in this meditation. I'm like, oh, Garrain, lead with the art, then take them to transformation. Oh, boom! It's been a part of everything I've ever done, but I've never actually faced the music. I faced the crowd, but the maestro is facing. Dun, 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 dun. I never actually faced the music. And I'm like, that makes sense. I'll be at a party and there's 300 people. They'll be like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a transformation coach. And then 10 minutes later, I'll just start singing or I'll just start dancing because of the thing that I feel. Next thing you know, there's 200 people dancing. And I'm like, there is something when you align yourself with your authentic nature and you allow yourself to be who you really are, that gives people permission slips to see an example of what true freedom is. You don't have to fight for freedom. There's nobody can give you the freedom that only you can give to yourself. And I know this because I discovered this when I was in prison.
Yeah.
I gave myself freedom while I was locked up.
Wow.
Therefore, the universe had to obey that law.
Yeah.
So I want to close this by saying how I found it was asking a different question, which turned me back to my most authentic self. And they say, you're going to create, awaken the artist within. What's the artist? The little kid inside before life stripped away everything. Your gifts, your passion, your creativity, your energy, your power. Garrain, more than anybody, you know how to teach people how to tap back into that kid. When they tap back into that energy, it unlocks a power. The name of my new company is called Artist Power. And I teach people, and next thing you know, there's billionaires at my stuff. People that sold their company for 800 million. People who don't even really know anything about business. But the through line was, I want to learn how to be fully myself and embody that characteristics. I want more confidence. I want to be more self-expressed. And I'm like, this shit's been here my whole life. And that's how it happened.
And it's funny because, things work in such a interesting way when we hit those moments where we truly identify, from my background being in music as well and being in entertainment and the Hollywood scene as well too, I had similar epiphanies that pushed me in certain areas. And once I got to those areas, I had those aha moments in regards to I already had these talents, I already had these skills. So how do I formulate that and make that into something that can be of value to others, right? And I think you kind of touched on it. That brings me to my next conversation with you. So we do go way back, and I remember having many interactions with you, whether it be online or in real life. And I remember we first reconnected. I saw you on Instagram or something. I was like, "What's up, Steph?" Right?
Yep,
And I was just like seeing this whole blossoming evolution, and no different than probably if you look at me and what I'm doing now,
absolutely.
it's not.
Clearly. I was like, wait, huh? Politics. Wait, what? Club promotion? But it makes sense. You got the skills.
Yeah,
It's it's amazing how things then and it translates.
yeah. And many people are always like, how are you so confident and how are you so sure of yourself and you're not nervous? I've been around people, thousands of people, my entire last 20 years, even before this, right? And so, in saying that, in knowing you at that particular space, and as I said, starting to dive into some of your content and hearing some of your shares and stories, I didn't know about some of the different things that you went through. I didn't know about the homelessness and living in the car as well too. So for me, that was a relatability aspect of it because I actually experienced a little bit of that myself when I first moved to Los Angeles. And the crazy thing about my experience is that um, I didn't know anyone, and I didn't have a car, right? So it was just like I got to figure this out. But to bring it back to my question, the whole story about the prison incident, and I don't want to go far in it, but the segment that you spoke about in watching a movie, I think it was Shawshank Redemption, something like that, right? And to be able to be wired, to be able to filter out what you needed for yourself from that versus other people, they're just looking at those movies, right? And they're just enjoying the movie. And the reason why I want you to speak on this is because I have enlightened and empowered and inspired many people by letting them know why I signed up for newsletters from big Fortune 500 companies. And normally people sign up for these newsletters, Gary, is because they want to get information. I want to know their template, their secret sauce, their formula, their consistency on how they send them out. If I don't reply, how soon do they reach out? What is the messaging? And so for me, as I was struggling coming up, I could use those templates and implement my own wording. And then that's what I would send out to my people. The reason why I trust it is because these are multi-million-dollar companies paying thousands of dollars to people who know what the hell they're doing, right? So why not tap into that, right? And I feel like you were able to put yourself at that time in that position to see what you needed to see from a movie, and then that planted a certain seed into you to elaborate on the story that you shared at that time. And can you kind of speak on that a little bit for me?
So I didn't have the awareness, like I didn't have the awareness in the moment because I couldn't see the picture while I was in the frame.
Yeah.
I'm just going through life. But I did get a hit that was strong enough to get my attention, like somebody's tapping on my shoulder. So I'm in prison, not thinking I got a 12-year sentence. I'm not thinking I'm going to get out. It's already almost up to 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking I'm getting out anytime soon. So I just gave up try to get out and fight for my freedom. I gave up trying that. I was just like, you know what? What can I do in here that I wouldn't normally do out there? And that's when I got into reading. I stopped using my dominant hand and started using my non-dominant hand, which I didn't even realize was operating a different part of my brain. So imagine you use your right hand your whole life, and all of a sudden you just stop and then use your left hand. The amount of calibration and what will then start changing in your life just by doing that
Wow.
and using a different part of your brain. So all of this was happening. Then we got to watch a movie once a month, And then Shawshank Redemption came on, which is a movie that's based out of prison. And then Anthony Dufresne, he said they can take anything they want away from me, but they can't take away my mind. And I don't know what it was about that phrase, but it was enough to cause a conscious interrupt. It just made me stop in my tracks. I'm like, I know why I'm in prison.
Wow.
Because while I was free, I used to say all the time, I feel like I'm in prison inside of my own body. I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be, because I thought I would be ahead in life. Next thing you know, I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be in a French prison in Europe. And I'm like, well, if I can put myself here, well, what if, well, in that case, I'm a free man. And I just kept saying, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. What would a free person do? And an inner voice said, everything that you used to love to do when you were a kid. And that's when I started remembering. Remember, anybody that's watching, I'm not talking to the adult, because the adult is deteriorating children. I'm talking about to the little kid inside of you. Remember, 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 remember. I started remembering what brought me the most joy. I started remembering what made me the most happy. I loved to sing. It made me feel free. I loved to run. It made me feel free. I loved to paint. I loved to motivate people. I wanted to be a superhero when I was a little kid. It just made me feel free. So all of a sudden, Garrain, draw. You love to draw. And I start drawing. And I was like, I feel, wow. And I was joyful inside of, regardless of my circumstances. Then I started giving. I need everybody to pay close attention. I started taking what brought me the most joy, and I started giving my joy away, and then watching the joy light up in other people's lives, and watching other inmates cry because I drew a portrait of their family. Another inmate says, every time you sing, it makes me feel free. I started singing every night because I was already free. So what I did was I just let that overflow into the jail, the hallways of the jail cell. Then I started motivating people. I learned to speak fluent French. Then I started motivating people in French. And they're like, oh man, this dude he's motivation, motivation. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then a little voice goes, Garrain, run. You love to run, but nobody was running in the yard. I saw fights, drug deals, stabbings. I saw so many of those things. Nobody was running.
Wow.
But a little voice says, Garrain, run. You love to run. So I started running, and I'm running. By day 3, there's like, mind you, there's nobody else running. By day 3, there's like six inmates running with me. By day 30, 60 something inmates running with me. Less fights, less drug deals, less people stabbing each other. And when I felt free, not when I fought for freedom, when I felt free and I embodied the characteristics that served my heart's highest good from when I was a little kid, magically, they called me into the office, which I had no idea. This blindsided me. They called me to the office. I got busted for smuggling 6.2 kilos of heroin from one country to the next. They called me to the office when I felt free. They had already tested the drugs 3 times, 6.2 kilos of heroin. Jones, we retested the drugs. 90% was fake. And for the amount that was real, you've already done the time. You're free to go home.
Wow. Wow, that's free.
And I use that formula today. And so that's why it hurts my heart when I see people online saying, I'm fighting my freedom. I'm fighting for my freedom, or they're taking my freedom. Can't nobody take your freedom. Nobody.
Yeah.
And I know, because I was in prison and I felt more free than I ever felt in my life. And right then is when I realized, oh, I've had the key to my own jail cell. Once I unlocked and put that in the key, I freed myself. So now, underneath every project, everything that I do, everything, I teach people how to free themselves from the jail cell that they put themselves in, and I teach them how to come back home to who they really are.
Amazing. I love
That's
it.
my why inside of everything that I do.
No, I love that, man. And I think that so many people have probably heard this message, but I think it's so great to kind of reiterate it and just share with this platform that I'm working with as well, too, because there's a lot of people that always send me messages and DMs and they're just talking about these difficulties that they're facing right now in our country, in our city, or in our state, or whatever the case may be. And what I start to notice, and you probably have noticed this as well when initially people reach out to you, it's the language they use upon their introduction that shows everything about them that you know that they need to correct, right? They show you what they need to correct on their introduction, right? And I think that experience, that mindset, and the way that you just kind of walk through that whole particular story is going to resonate with a lot of people. So thank you so much for sharing, that particular story that definitely resonated with me. And I know I want to talk to you today about it on the show. So I want to switch gears real quick. Is what I do with a lot of my interviews.
Before you switch gear, I just want, because I don't want somebody to miss the fact that they're like, oh, that's good for him, but I've never been to prison before. I want to share somewhere, everybody out there.
Yeah.
You're in a relationship
Mm,
that you don't want to be in and you stay in it, that's prison. If
mm.
you're at a 9 to 5 job that you know damn well it is eating your soul, and you stay in it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that's your prison. We all go through the same things mentally. Don't get blinded by that story, because you got a prison too. So I just
No,
wanted to share that so they could relate even more.
no, you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you added additional context to that as well, too, because there will be people that look at that and probably attach unrelatability to it when essentially there's so much more relation to that as well. So thank you so much for adding context to that. So I do want to have a little fun, and have some light with you since I have you on, because I think you exude that, right? And so you're the perfect, guest to have on board to have some fun with. So these questions, me and my wife kind of laughed at them. She said, "Don't ask him that." I said, "I'm going to ask him that. It's my show." So with this question, so which ability would you choose? You have an option of three abilities. You can jump super high. That's one. You have super strength. That's the second one. Or you can run super fast, similar to like a cheetah. So out of those three abilities, which one would Garrain Jones choose?
High strength, fast. I'm already super fast. I would, you know what? I would say super strength. And
Hmm.
I would choose super strength because the capacity to be the vessel that inspires other vessels, that will change the way our entire planet relates to themselves, is going to take a different kind of strength that I don't currently have now. So I would definitely, as I continue to evolve, I would just upload that right here into the software, and I would definitely take some super strength.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. So if you were so what was the question? So if you were a car, right? And based upon your mindset and personality, what car would Garrain Jones be?
That's a good one. I forgot the name of it, but I know what it is. It's a Rolls, but it's the what's the
Aventador? I mean, no, not that. That's a Lamborghini.
it's a Rolls Royce, but it's the not the Viper, but it's a Phantom. The way it looks, the respect that it has, the luxury that it's about, the sustainable of the branding over like decades and decades. And the Phantom, that engine is nothing to play with. It's like the engine is like, whew, it's one of those things. And yeah, and the ride is just it has a it's like a calm, it has a calm state to it, but people know when it's coming. If you just put it into a room, there's just like a one of those type of deals. I would say a Rolls Royce Phantom.
Oh, good, good. Rolls Royce Phantom. I take that. I take that.
Yep.
So before we close, given the fact that we've had the conversation that we've had right now, and in this show, in the description, I'll definitely tag you in it. And on the YouTube, I have different ways where people can contact you, follow you, or whatever the case may be. However you want me to transcribe that, we'll make sure to do that. But for the everyday individual, whether it be an entrepreneur, whether it be the person that's in 9 to 5, whether it's the person that's stuck, or whether it's a person who truly understood the metaphor of maybe you haven't had my personal experience, but this is your experience and you're still subject to the same type of plights. What would you say in close to give people like that bit of motivation and inspiration if they were to have like a 30 seconds with you and you can hold their hands and you can look at them passionately? And I saw you do this online with a young lady online. I think you actually made her cry. It was absolutely amazing, right? But Gary, you have 30 seconds right now to just kind of share your love with somebody, to let them know that it's going to be okay. You know, me being political, I've talked to so many different families. Kids are facing a high rate of anxiety, a high rate of suicide, a high rate of just stress and depression. Let's create a scenario right now for 30 seconds. And I know it's putting you on the spot, right? But
I live for this.
but let's hold everybody's hand right now and look them right in the face and give them some comfort, motivation, inspiration, or whatever it is that you want to do in these 30 seconds. If you would, please, sir.
I see you. I hear you. You matter. You're important. You're special. And like my samurai teacher taught me, you know what to do. Only this time, just know that you're not alone. And you don't have to do this alone. You have me, you have Major, and you have a team of people who are here with you. And we can point you in the direction that will teach you about accountability, mentorship, motivation, and surround you around people who are living the kind of life that that's in the direction where you want to go. Because flowers that grow together grow much faster than they do by themselves. I just want you to know that you are not alone, and I'm right here with you.
Amazing, man. Thank you, man. You do that like no other, brother. I promise you do. Thank you so much, man. So, well, that is the conclusion of the Majoravation podcast show today with my good friend Garrain Jones. I just want to say thank you so much again for giving me a bit of your time, a bit of your perspective, your journey, and also your story. I think it's going to be hugely impactful and valuable for a lot of people who probably haven't come across you yet. And so I'm really excited about some of the feedback that we're going to get from people, kind of getting a glimpse of you and what you do. And you know, I just think you're a gift to the world. And like I said, the biggest thing that I really take away from this is what I appreciate about you, which is why I want to give you your flowers early on, is that when you have grown men, you know, we can, you know, consider ourselves, you know, seasoned, and you know, I talk about you, right, to my wife. I talk about the positivity that I see because it radiates through what you're actually producing, right? Oftentimes when people, they get in these spaces of uplifting and encouraging and whatever, it sounds good, it's cool, but there is a difference when you can actually feel it, right?
Yeah.
And there's a difference when there is such an authentic uh, background and journey that's attached to it. And I think that's reminiscent of what you are and what you represent. And so I just want to tell you, man, uh, although you're doing well, as we know, as we're embracing success, there's always obstacles and challenges. And we always are looking for certain balances to help us reset and continue to be strong for other people because they look up to us. But I want to let you know that I'm here for you. I'm glad that we reconnected. And whatever it is that I can do for you now, tomorrow, or in the future, just know that you do have a brother here that's willing to stand with you, beside you, and also for you in this journey that we call life. So I appreciate you being on the show, brother.
Ah, that felt good. And I'm taking it all into my heart. I appreciate you too, brother. Let's definitely um, keep the conversation going and flowing, and want to know how I can support you as well. So thank you so much for being brave enough to create platforms like this for stories like mine to have wings, because all of us needs each of us. So this partnership is like really cool for the people who will be impacted. So thank you for answering the calling.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, brother. Well, I'll be in touch. God bless you. Going to be with your beautiful family. I'm going to
All
do
right,
the
brother.
same. And then this is not the last one. We'll do it again, if that's okay.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Sounds good, brother. God bless you.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Peace.